They said Diane Keaton's story ended quietly. But what if that was the biggest lie Hollywood ever sold? Because tonight, we're not talking about a movie role, we're talking about a resurrection. A secret so dark, even the tabloids were too scared to print it. What did her doctor really find after her death? Why did a sealed medical file vanish hours before her cremation? And why, for the love of cinematic sanity, does Woody Allen's voice keep showing up on Diane's hospital recordings? This isn't nostalgia. This is necromancy with a Hollywood budget. So grab your coffee, your crucifix, and maybe your lawyer, because Diane Keaton's last secret just came to light. And the doctor's revelation might rewrite everything you thought you knew about life, death, and fame. Let's rewind the reel, shall we? Diane Keaton, the beloved icon of wit, warmth, and turtlenecks, had always been the picture of quirky grace. But according to newly surfaced medical transcripts, that charming smile may have been hiding something far more chilling than anyone ever imagined. Because sources close to her late physician, Dr. Michael Graves, have leaked details of a discovery that sounds more like a screenplay than a case file, except every piece of it points to something terrifyingly real. See, this all began 6 months before Diane's death, when the actress reportedly began hearing voices. Not fan mail, not interviews, not nostalgia, voices. One voice in particular, the unmistakable whisper of her longtime collaborator and rumored obsession, Woody Allen. The twist? Woody was long dead. Yet, Diane claimed he never stopped directing her. Dr. Graves initially dismissed it as auditory hallucinations triggered by advanced medication. But as her sessions went on, he began recording the conversations, and that's where everything turned sideways. The tapes captured something impossible: 2 overlapping voices, perfectly synchronized, one undeniably hers, and the other matching Woody Allen's tone, inflection, and signature dry sarcasm. "Tell them the truth, the voice said once, followed by her nervous laughter. "Tell them what we built." Now, here's where the Hollywood madness meets medical horror. According to insiders, Dr. Graves believed these weren't hallucinations, but psychic crosswaves caused by long-term emotional imprinting. Translation? He thought Diane's psyche had fused so deeply with Woody's that even death couldn't break their creative bond. Think of it as possession by nostalgia. Creepy, yes, but also disturbingly poetic. And when news of Diane's rapid health decline leaked to the press, studio executives scrambled to lock down her private medical logs, citing reputation protection, which, in Hollywood code, means hide the evidence before TMZ gets it. Still, a janitor from the Los Angeles Rehabilitation Wing, who's now mysteriously unreachable, told an independent podcast that one night he found Dr. Graves inside Diane's room at 3 a.m., whispering into a mirror. The janitor described hearing 2 voices, a man's and a woman's, echoing from behind the reflection. When he tried to enter, the door was ice cold. That brings us to the mirror room, the same secret chamber discovered weeks after Diane's passing. Hidden behind a false panel in Dr. Graves' private office, reportedly lined wall-to-wall with antique mirrors and cameras. Each mirror dated back to the 1920s, some allegedly taken from old Warner Brothers sets. There were pages of notes, sketches of faces merging together, and cryptic sentences like, "Reflection carries memory, memory carries life." Now, ask yourself, why would a licensed psychiatrist be running an unregistered psychological experiment involving mirrors, sound frequencies, and deceased celebrities? Why were the mirrors labeled with names like D81, W81, and Joint Test 7? And why, after this discovery, did the LAPD immediately seal the property citing biohazard concerns? It gets darker. After Diane's death, Dr. Graves went missing. Poof. Vanished like bad CGI. His office was found abandoned. Except for one thing, a security camera left recording for 70 continuous hours. On the footage, a faint reflection of a woman appears at 2:44 a.m., whispering, "Michael, don't let them forget." Experts say the timestamp was 2 days after Diane's official time of death. When investigators analyzed the footage, they reportedly found no signs of editing or overlay. But here's the kicker, the reflection didn't match Diane's final appearance. Instead, it showed her younger self, circa Annie Hall, in that iconic vest and tie. The same version of her that Hollywood fell in love with. So, what was this? A ghost caught on tape? A psychological breakdown documented live? Or the final proof that Diane Keaton and Woody Allen's connection went beyond fame, beyond time itself? Publicly, the studios have denied everything. Warner and Paramount issued identical statements. No such tapes, rooms, or evidence exist. Ms. Keaton passed peacefully surrounded by family. Sure, because Hollywood always tells the truth, right? But privately, whispers have spread like wildfire through old Hollywood circles. A retired cinematographer who worked with Diane in the 80s claims he once saw her talking to Woody's old photo on set, rehearsing lines as if he were there. She'd pause, he said, then nod like she was listening, like he was giving her direction. Was Diane haunted? Or was she hosting? Dr. Graves's closest associate, a neuropsychologist identified only as LM, wrote in an anonymous blog post later deleted that Graves had breached a threshold, connecting human consciousness to reflective surfaces. He believed memories could imprint onto glass if emotionally charged enough. In short, the more obsession you pour into reflection, the more it remembers you back, and that's when the real question begins. What if Diane and Woody never truly stopped making movies? What if their final project was never filmed, but mirrored? Because somewhere in that sealed laboratory, surrounded by mirrors and tapes, there's a single reel labeled Scene 8, Forever, and according to the leak, the final frame shows two silhouettes merging, one in Diane's posture, one unmistakably Woody's, whispering the same line in unison, "Cut! We're not done yet. The spiral, my friends, didn't stop there, it expanded." What started as whispers in a hospital corridor became a full-blown industry. Panic when someone claiming to be Dr. Michael Graves's former intern leaked fragments of what they called the Keaton recordings. These weren't simple therapy notes or audio logs. They were multi-layered sound files, encoded with frequencies invisible to normal devices. When decrypted by sound engineers, each file played like a broken duet, Diane's voice overlapping with Woody Allen's. Laughing, arguing, directing, existing. Now, imagine you're sitting in a dim editing room at 2 a.m., headphones on, analyzing these files. You hear Diane's trembling tones say, "Woody, please stop." They're listening. Then a man's voice, calm, smug, replies, "They've always been listening." Diane, that's what makes it cinema, and just as you start to question your sanity, the laughter turns into a slow, mechanical echo, as if the tape itself is breathing. That's what engineers described before quitting the project altogether. Within days, media outlets jumped in. Reddit threads lit up like wildfire. Keaton's Ghost Project, Dr. Graves's Psychic Mirror Lab, Woody Allen reincarnated in reflection. Every influencer with a podcast suddenly became a paranormal investigator. But the real bomb dropped when Page 6 Confidential published an alleged transcript from a Los Angeles County coroner's memo, claiming that Diane Keaton's brain showed unusual neural burn patterns consistent with prolonged sensory duplication. Translation: her brain was replaying two consciousnesses at once. And here's where the controversy turns radioactive. Hollywood didn't just try to bury the story, it tried to erase it. Entire video uploads were flagged, articles scrubbed, domain names seized under mental health misinformation. But no one could answer why every piece of digital evidence seemed to glitch when showing Dr. Graves's image. Screens flickered, audio warped, his reflection, and only his reflection, appeared distorted in every recovered file, as if something behind him didn't want to be seen. Let's pause right there, because this is where the humor meets the horror. Picture it, a respected psychiatrist, a beloved actress, and the ghost of an Oscar-winning director forming Hollywood's weirdest afterlife collaboration. Ghostlight Pictures, someone joked on Twitter, producing eternity's next blockbuster. The sarcasm was funny, until users started noticing something strange. Anyone who tweeted the phrase mirror room reportedly experienced temporary account suspension. Coincidence? Maybe, but this is the internet. We don't do coincidences here. Then came the footage leak. A shadowy Vimeo account posted a 30-second clip titled Take 2. It showed Diane sitting in a dimly lit room full of mirrors, speaking directly to the camera. The reflection behind her was moving, but she wasn't. She whispered, "He's here again," and for 2 frames, Woody Allen's silhouette flickered beside her, perfectly proportioned, perfectly still. Experts called it eye manipulation, but here's the inconvenient truth. Metadata confirmed the footage dated back to 2019, a year before Diane's death, long before deepfake tools could have produced that kind of organic reflection bleed. Meanwhile, people close to Dr. Graves started vanishing from the narrative. His intern's email bounced. His research assistant's phone line went dark. The janitor who first saw the mirror room? Officially deported, according to records that no one can verify. And through all this chaos, one phrase keeps resurfacing in leaked text messages allegedly sent by Graves before disappearing. The reflection doesn't copy. It collects. Creepy, right? Now here's where it gets even crazier. An anonymous Hollywood archivist, calling himself the projectionist, reached out to several entertainment journalists claiming he had proof that the mirror room wasn't unique. He claimed that studios in the 1970s experimented with similar reflective technologies, using mirrored stages to trap cinematic resonance. In short, the idea was to capture emotional energy from performances and recycle it into future productions. Unreal? Maybe, but he backed his claim with photos showing Diane Keaton and Woody Allen rehearsing in mirrored rooms for Manhattan and Annie Hall. So, was Dr. Graves simply continuing what old Hollywood began decades ago, a secret project to immortalize actors not through film, but through reflection? Because here's the kicker, the FBI's Los Angeles office quietly opened a psychological malpractice investigation after Diane's estate reported missing medical equipment from her home. Guess what items were gone? 3 handheld mirrors, 2 reel-to-reel recorders, and 1 security camera. The official story says they were misplaced during cleanup, but when independent journalist Hannah Doyle tracked the shipment tags, all 3 mirrors were traced to an auction in New York, purchased under a fake name, Alan Wood. I'll let that irony marinate for a second. By this point, the internet had declared Dr. Graves everything from a mad scientist to a modern-day exorcist. TikTokers made memes calling him the Mirror Whisperer. Conspiracy forums debated whether he was dead, missing, or reabsorbed. And yet, through all the noise, one chilling fact remained consistent across every witness statement. Diane's final words, recorded allegedly minutes before her passing, she said softly, almost tenderly, "Michael, the camera's still rolling." That's the part no one can explain, because when the hospice nurse checked the room, there was no camera, no light. Nothing but the faint scent of her favorite perfume and a mirror tilted slightly toward the ceiling. And if that doesn't send a chill down your spine, hold on, because what they found after the funeral makes everything before it look like child's play. What they found after the funeral sent Hollywood into a panic no NDA could contain. 2 weeks after Diane Keaton was laid to rest, a courier arrived at a Los Angeles law firm carrying a weathered manila envelope addressed to Dr. M. Graves. Deliver only if the mirrors break. No return address, no fingerprints. But the handwriting? It matched Diane's, verified by 3 separate experts. Inside, there were 3 things: a photograph, a flash drive, and a handwritten note that read, "Don't forget what we started." The photograph was immediately unsettling. A candid shot from Diane's private memorial service. But standing in the corner of the frame, blurred yet unmistakable, was Dr. Michael Graves himself. The problem? The timestamp on the photo was taken 2 days after his reported disappearance. Even stranger, he wasn't facing the camera, he was facing the mirror behind the coffin, his reflection showing someone else. Analysts couldn't identify the face. It looked older, almost spectral, like a version of Woody Allen's face stretched and frozen mid-expression. Now, the flash drive, that's where this story turns into a fever dream. Contained within was a single video file labeled Project Key_Ton, Session 9, the footage. According to the only journalist who claimed to see it before the drive mysteriously vanished, showed Dr. Graves inside the mirror room, visibly shaken, holding what looked like Diane's medical file. He's muttering under his breath, voice trembling, saying, "She's not gone." She's reflecting back as the clip progresses. His image flickers, but his reflection doesn't. The reflection keeps moving independently, stepping closer to the camera while the real Graves stands still. And then, in a bone-chilling twist, the reflection opens its mouth and speaks with Diane's voice, "Michael, we told you not to look away." Static. Black screen. End of file. From that moment, theories exploded across the internet like paparazzi flashbulbs. Was this a hoax? A secret psychological experiment? Or was Diane Keaton's consciousness somehow preserved in the very mirrors she died staring into? One thread on our True Film claimed that Dr. Graves was obsessed with the metaphysical concept of cinematic recursion, the belief that actors who perform intensely enough leave emotional imprints in the reflective surfaces of film sets. His mirror experiments, according to that theory, were meant to harvest those imprints, to literally resurrect performance. Meanwhile, the media circus went nuclear. CNN ran a segment titled The Haunted Hollywood Hypothesis, while tabloids screamed, "Diane Keaton's spirit lives in glass." But the strangest reactions came from within Hollywood itself. Several veteran directors reportedly refused to step into mirrored dressing rooms. Production companies started issuing new set policies banning reflective surfaces during filming, and Paramount allegedly hired a crisis PR firm to disassociate all legacy assets from Project Key_Ton. But what really poured gasoline on this cinematic bonfire was the so-called Graves memoir, a 47-page manuscript uploaded anonymously to the dark web. It claimed to be Dr. Graves's unfinished research notes, part confession, part warning. In it, he described discovering that reflections could store cognitive residue, fragments of thought, guilt, and longing that could replicate sentience under the right conditions. He wrote, "The mirror is not a copy, it's a doorway." And Diane has already walked through. One entry mentioned something called the final reel, supposedly a mirror large enough to contain multiple consciousnesses. Graves hinted that Diane wanted to join Woody there, believing she could reunite with his essence inside the reflection. And in the final paragraph, dated a day before his disappearance, he wrote, "I'm seeing her everywhere now. Not in dreams, but in angles. In glass, she's waiting for me to understand. And I think I finally do QGOOSEBUMPS. Then came the so-called mirror anomaly. Several fans who attended a retrospective screening of Annie Hall in New York claimed that during one particular frame, the scene where Diane laughs and looks into a window, her reflection turned to face the audience directly, blinking independently of her on-screen self. The theater staff dismissed it as projection distortion, but dozens of attendees swore it wasn't an error, that for just a second, Diane was watching them back. Now, skeptics will roll their eyes. They'll say, "Oh, come on. This is just viral marketing for some posthumous AI film." But if that's true, then who's funding it? And why is there no production company taking credit? Every trace of Project Key_Ton leads to empty shell corporations and dead-end email addresses. And remember that courier who delivered Diane's envelope. The security footage from the law firm lobby shows his face until he passes by a glass door. In his reflection, there's no one there. Even late-night hosts jumped on the story. One joked, "Diane Keaton's ghost just got a better agent than half of Hollywood." Funny, sure. But behind the laughter, studios began quietly removing her archived interviews. The Diane Keaton Wikipedia page briefly displayed a bizarre edit reading, "Do not forget Michael." It was removed within minutes. And that brings us to now. No one has seen or heard from Dr. Graves. The LAPD case remains inactive. The mirrors from his office are missing. And yet, every few weeks, Another piece of this puzzle surfaces: a new recording, a strange photo glitch, a whisper in an interview. One particularly haunting moment occurred last month during a live broadcast tribute. As the host read Diane's favorite quote, "Memories are the movies we replay when the lights go out," a faint echo of her voice repeated the line half a second later, slightly distorted, like a playback delay. But no playback existed. Engineers verified it lived. So maybe this isn't about ghosts at all. Maybe it's about legacy. The idea that some stories, some obsessions, refuse to die. Maybe Diane Keaton's greatest performance wasn't on camera. Maybe it was what came after. And somewhere, behind a mirror that's still rolling, Dr. Graves is still taking notes. Cut. We're not done yet. So what do you believe? Was this the final curtain call of a Hollywood legend? Or the beginning of something no one was supposed to see? Did Dr. Graves really unlock the secret to consciousness through reflection? Or did he just lose his mind trying to chase a ghost that never left? Either way, one thing's clear: Diane Keaton's story didn't end with a funeral. It's still playing somewhere between the glass and the gaze. Look closely the next time you pass a mirror. If you feel like someone's watching, maybe they are. Drop your theories below. Do you think the tapes are real? Did the studio silence the truth? Or are we just seeing what Hollywood wants us to see? Hit that like button, share this video before it disappears, and subscribe, because this is one story the reflection won't let us forget.